Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to wherever you are out there in YouTube land. I'm Mike Brooks. Welcome to Brooks's Bass Corner. This is live chat number 10. It's been a while. I'll apologise and I'll explain why. Since we came out the other side of the pandemic here in the UK, I know it's not over, but we've been able to do shows and gigs here in the UK again, which has been fabulous. But as a result of being exceptionally busy, playing in various bands up and down the country, it's meant there's been a lack of new content here on the YouTube channel. So I apologize. So if you've been waiting for new videos, now it will start to snowball. So later on this evening, there will be a new video up on the channel. And I'm now aiming to put videos up every Monday and every Thursday, with a possible live chat either on a Monday or a Wednesday. But we're going to see how that kind of pans out over time, because my gig schedule still looks rather busy between now and Christmas. So welcome to all the new subscribers. You're very welcome here. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching the videos and subscribing, commenting on the videos, liking everything. GPAC, you're welcome. Thank you for attending. So we've done 9 of these live chats before. So this is number 10. The way it all kind of pans out is I'll update you on what the channel's doing and what's coming up, and go through a few housekeeping details, and then I will open it up to you guys out there. So if you've got any questions about what's on the channel, any of the videos, any of the reviews or the interviews, or any of the sound bites or the other videos that are here on the channel, by all means post your questions up and I will endeavour to answer them for you. If you've got any suggestions for things you might like to see on the channel, post those up as well. And make sure you follow on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. You'll find all the details on the channel page, and you can follow me on the various social media platforms. So yeah, so the channel's been a bit quiet for, oh goodness, about 12 weeks. So the last video went up in mid-July, and as I intimated at the start, that's been pretty much down to the fact I've been incessantly busy with live gigs. I've been doing between 3, 4 and 5 gigs a week every week since we came out of lockdown here in the UK. So actually last week was the first week in 12 weeks where I didn't have material and songs to learn for gigs that week. So now, between now and Christmas, I've got more time now to start producing the content again. So if you enjoyed what you saw before in the previous 12 months, yeah, because we ran August to end of July, there's going to be more of that. So we'll have more soundbite videos, more bass reviews, amp reviews, effect pedal reviews, load of interviews coming up, new ones and vintage ones from my collection, from when I've done interviews for Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player. And I've got a new series as well coming up, which I'm kind of producing the content for, and rather than get hamstrung and not have the content ready to put up on the channel, I'm doing it in advance. So that's also eaten into the time that there hasn't been new content going up. So that will all now start to change. So like I say, there'll be a new video up this evening, and I can give you a sneak preview into what that's going to be. So that's going to be a soundbite video, which is kind of similar to the bass review videos, but without the review section. So basically, if time is of the essence and you're looking at a certain bass guitar and you want to hear what that bass sounds like and how it plays, then that's what my soundbite videos are based on. So they shouldn't take more than about 4 or 5 minutes of your time, whereas a review video can be anything between 6 to 12 minutes. But a soundbite video is a shorter, the name says exactly what it is. It's a soundbite, just a small quick demo of what an instrument or a pedal will sound like. So tonight it will be a Yamaha BBP 34, 4-string Yamaha bass, made in Japan. One of the most popular videos on the channel was a review I did of the BBP 35, which was its 5-string brother. And I had the opportunity recently to pull one of those 4 strings in and review it and do a soundbite video as well. So tonight will be a soundbite video. Thursday's video, I haven't quite decided what it's going to be. It could be a review video or it might be an interview. And as we roll on through the weeks, more and more of the, I say fan favorites, not fan favorites, but you know, the videos that have proved popular on the channel previously, there will be more of that coming your way. I'm trying to think if there's anything I can give away information wise about what's coming up. No, I can't. I've got to keep it secret. So there's a few surprises coming your way as well, and hopefully there could well be another competition probably on the other side of Christmas as we get into New Year. So as and when details for that become available, I will let you guys know. So let's see who we've got on the channel. So at the moment we've got GPAC. Hi, good evening. And we've got Stacy from North Carolina. Good evening. Hope you're safe and well out there. GPAC, here we go. You've actually just used my jazz bass. We were talking talking to one another on the Facebook channel. It's just arrived today. Haven't opened it yet. Well, you need to get unwrapping, sir. You know, that's a fine instrument you've got there. And for people who are watching this video thinking, what the hell is he talking about? GPAC here, who's talking on this live chat, just bought a bass that I had in my possession last week for a review and soundbite video. He actually bought the bass while it was here with me, and he bought it from Bass Direct in Warwick here in the UK. And we were conversing last week about this wonderful instrument he's bought. I think you'll be very happy. It's great. Plays great, sounds great, everything a good jazz bass should be. Now you're saying, I've never used flat wounds before, thinking of getting some of my jazz bass. Would you recommend any specific strings? Well, you can't really see my t-shirt, but I'll hold it up. So I'm a Rotosound endorsee and a Rotosound artist. So I can highly recommend their strings, as I would do. And their flat wounds are great. I've actually got a set on my Mike Dirnt Precision, which is just over my shoulder, the kind of butterscotch yellow precision bass. So I've got a set of Rotosound flat wounds on there, and they are fabulous. And sometimes flat wounds can be quite harsh and hard in terms of the string tension, but I actually find the Rotosound ones have more of the suppleness of the round wound strings, but you're getting the sonic benefits of them being flat wound, so you get less string noise. It's a smoother tone, and they're a lot easier on the fingers than certain sort of round wound, steel wound, and the nickel wound strings. But I highly recommend them. There are other flat wound strings available. Obviously, a lot of players tend to like the Thomastic Infeld strings, but they tend to be quite expensive. And actually, flat wounds generally seem to be quite expensive. I was looking at some about 3 or 4 months ago, and quite surprised at what the price difference between round wounds and flat wounds is. But certainly, once you unpack the bass, I'd say maybe buy a set of flat wounds for the strings that you perhaps generally use. See what you think of those, and then it's a case of experimenting. I mean, I did an experiment 6-7 years ago where I was moving from the strings that I used to use, which were made by Picato here in the UK, and I spent a load of my money trying out different brands, different string gauges, different string materials, and I basically settled on Rotosound. I was putting different sort of formats of their strings on different basses that I've got here. and they just seem to work great, and we're very consistent across all the instruments. So I approached Rope to Sound for an artist deal, and the wonderful Jason Howe, evening Jason, took me on board, and that's the long and short of that story. Sad but true, and I've been very happy with them. I've had no problems in 6 years. 2015, I started using them, and they've been great, very reliable. I've had no snap strings, no dead strings out of the packets, and I get really good string life on all the sets that I use on different instruments. So I'm very happy with them. But you know, certainly go and investigate. There's so many different brands out there that sometimes a brand that you think, oh, they're not really for me, and then you try them, and they're a pleasant surprise. So I mean, that jazz bass is going to sound great with a set of flats on it. You use Rope to Sound round wound on all your current basses. I do on a lot of my basses. I use, I don't think what else I use on some of these. I've got some of the half wounds. I've got them on my Lakeland 5-string there. I think what else. I've got some rotos on a couple of the basses as well, because I was trying those out for the nickel sound. But the half wounds, I love those on certain instruments. Some of my acoustic instruments I use half wounds on, just because they give you a little more brightness, a little more zing and snap that you would get from a round wound. But certainly on an acoustic instrument, I don't want my acoustics to sound really bright and zingy, which they can do with bronze strings, or if you put steels on there. So the half wounds I really recommend if you're looking for something different. And in fact, maybe you might want to give those a try on your jazz bass. They've got the green silk windings on the top of the string, but they're great. They're great. So you don't get like the high, you know, all the sort of resonance and harmonics flying out that you do with steel strings, steel round wounds, sorry. But they're just slightly less in your face, but they work really great. So by all means, give those a go. This is the joy. We could go down a rabbit hole here with strings, because there's just so many out there, and I'm a firm believer that perhaps don't just stick to one type of string or one make of string for all your guitars. When I was doing that sort of string investigation, I found that different brands and different types of string worked really well on different basses. I'd kind of been locked into one or two types of string across all of my instruments, and I found that wasn't necessarily the case, wasn't the best thing for all the instruments. So, because for years I only put steel round wounds on the Mike Dirnt for that Mike Dirnt's kind of grindy, ballsy precision sound, and actually putting a set of flats on there, it became a whole different instrument, and it kind of reined in some of the over brightness of that 59 custom pickup on that bass. So, you know, give those all I can say is experiment, and who knows, you may find you really like the flats and then start using them on some of your other basses as well. I see you've just put another message. I'm working between two screens here. I've got a Thunderbird. Wonder what would sound good on that. It's going to get expensive. Yeah, the string investigation can prove expensive, but like I say, you sometimes get surprised by certain brands or certain types of string, and they'll just work really great on a certain bass. A Thunderbird, well, Thunderbirds by their very nature tend to be very bass oriented, very rounded tone. So you kind of have to think, do you want more of that? In which case you're looking at maybe nickels, or because you'll get a warmer tone from nickel than you will with steel. Or you can go down the flats route, obviously, but you're not going to get a hell of a lot of punch out of a flat wound string. So it depends what tone you're looking for, and whether you play with a pick or fingers, or what your technique is. Yeah, you know, experiment. I really recommend it. It was an eye-opener when I did this sort of experiment, going through all the different brands of string and material and string styles. It was weird how certain basses I had set in stone, like I can only use those sort of strings on that bass, and I just tried something different, and suddenly certain instruments in these racks changed their whole personality. So yeah, kind of think what sound you want. I mean, do you want all your basses to sound the same? Personally, I don't. I use them as different tools for different bands and different types of material. So it's whether you want to have lots of different sounds and tones, or whether you just want everything to sound the same. So that's cool. Let's have a look here. Yeah, if you've got any other bass questions, and certainly regarding that jazz bass, you've bought an excellent instrument there. The neck was fab, and you'll see when I get round to putting that review video and soundbite video up that it's really flexible. Actually, you may find, I don't know, when you were buying it from Bass Direct, whether there was a description of what the controls did in the description on the website, but it's set up slightly different to a normal jazz. So it's not two volumes and a tone. You've got a master volume. You've then got the second volume is a pickup pan. And then the tone control has two features. So it's regular tone control, passive tone control, but it's also got a push-pull facility on there. So I was finding that the tone on that was like it's like it had an extra oomph to it. So it could well be that it's either it could be a series parallel switch, maybe, but you'll find it once you unpack it. It's fab. It's fab, and good weight. The action was great. The neck generally very fast. Everything a jazz neck should have been. So enjoy is all I can say. I had a great, I think it was a two-tone sunburst. Can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, enjoy. And if you've got any questions about it, let me know. And those videos should be up pretty soon, I guess. I've been, Messenger, can't wait. It's also got the drop tuner, and wonder if it's the S1 switch. I was actually wondering that because I wasn't sure if the bass was new or secondhand. So yes, it could well be the S1 switch, which I think was through the early 2000s, sort of mid 2000s, because I can remember at that time when I was looking to buy the Mike Dirnt Precision. Loads of Precisions at that time had the S1 switching, and I didn't need it. So I was playing in a Green Day tribute at the time, so obviously needed a Mike Dirnt, but there was possibility I could have the S1 switching put in, and in the end I said no, it's too much, doesn't need to be like that. But yeah, great bass, a wise choice. I think you got a good deal on it as well, so enjoy. Hopefully it got there all safe and sound today. But yeah, so if you've got any more questions about that, fire away. But yeah, so let's have a think. What else we got coming up? So like I say, the soundbite and the review videos will be coming up thick and fast now on the channel. Let's think, what have we got coming up? So there's Yamaha soundbite going up this evening. There is another Yamaha, which I'll keep hold of for a couple of weeks. There is a Sandberg Marley Blue California, I think it's a TT. Could well be a TT. Then there is a short scale Stingray, a Sterling Stingray, white one, which that will be going up shortly. There is a Bass Center Bass Collection Portrait bass, which is the Bruce Thomas signature Precision. There's also, I think, a Dingwall NG3 5-string. That's in, I think that's metallic gold. So we'll see how that goes. Let me think. What else we got here? I'm trying to think. I've replenished the review videos, the review bases a couple of days ago. So there's a Mike Lull 5-string jazz. There is a new brand called Vincent coming out of Germany. Expensive basses, but handmade and really good quality. really good quality basses. And let's think, what else is there? There's one other that I picked up on Friday. I'm trying to think, what did I pull off the racks? It was, oh, now it could well be a Spectre. I think it was a Spectre, but they're all in the garage ready for filming this week. So I have a vault of interviews which took place kind of over the past 8 years from my work with Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player, and I own the copyright on these interviews, so they've all been published over the years. So I have this big long list of files here. So they generally are audio interviews. They weren't videoed at the time because I didn't know I would have a YouTube channel years later. So there are a couple of extra Billy Sheehan interviews to go up. There is an interview with Jack Bruce to come up, which was one of the last bass interviews he did before he passed away in 2014. There's an interview with Dave Swift. I've got another Glenn Hughes interview to come. There's an interview with Guy Pratt, Ida Nielsen, who was Prince's bass player. I'm just trying to see, the list is huge. There's John Lodge from the Moody Blues, John Myung from Dream Theater. I think there's another Lee Sklar interview, and I'm trying to see, this list is huge. There's an interview with Mike Dirnt from Green Day, which took place in December 2019, just before the first lockdown. There's Mike Rutherford from Genesis, and that's from April 2019. And I guess at that point, they would probably have been in discussions for the Genesis tour. So we'll see. I need to go back through that interview and see what he said, because some of that might be relevant based on the tour that they're doing at the moment. There's another Nathan East interview. There's an interview with Neil Murray, looking back at his career. We've got Peter Hook, formerly of New Order and Joy Division, doing his thing now with the Light. We've got Phil Spalding, an interview with Roger Sadowski, who makes those wonderful jazz basses out of New York. Scott Reeder from Caius, amongst others. An interview with Stuart Spector before he retired. Actually, quite a few years before he retired, but anyway, it's a good interview. And possibly a couple with Yolanda Charles. So, yeah, there's a whole vault of interviews there to come. So, hopefully, the live chats will become a regular thing now. And like I say, the way my time should free up now, there'll be more regular content. We'll be back to what we were before we came out of lockdown. So I'm just going to check what messages we've got here. Thank you guys. Thanks for the support. I do appreciate that. GPAC, yes. Have I played Guy Pratt's signature Betsy? I've played Betsy, the real one, which I played at the 2013 London Bass Guitar Show. So I interviewed Guy, and he brought Betsy along, and then behind the scenes there was an amp, and we were allowed to plug it in and have a go. Yes, the signature Betsy, if you go on my channel, which obviously you're on at the moment, there is a review of this bass, which is the Betsy signature, produced by the Bass Centre, going under the Bass Collection moniker. And there's also a soundbite video. So if you don't want all of the review part of it, you can just go to the soundbite and you'll hear exactly what this bass sounds like. So this is fitted with Rotosound swing bass strings. If you buy the bass from the Bass Centre, it will come with Bass Centre Elites, which are very good, fabulous strings, just not my preference. But if you want to hear how this wonderful replica signature model of Guy Pratt's original 64 jazz bass in Burgundy Mist that formerly belonged to John Entwistle and I've forgotten his surname from Pink Floyd, Dave. Anyway, brain's gone because we've had some idiots on here. So yes, so that's that. And if you want to read a written review of this, it was in Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player. Let me think, that would have been towards the end of 2019. So there is a written review as well out there. You probably actually just Google it and I think it will pop up. It used to be on my Facebook page. So yeah, a fine bass. I can heartily recommend them. And extremely good value for money as well. So yeah, looking forward to the Mike Dirnt interview. Well, the Mike Dirnt interview again was for the Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player, so it has actually been published in magazine form, so it is out there in the public domain. But obviously, I've got the audio file. So and it's a cool interview. He was very giving of his time. I think we spoke for about an hour and a quarter, and it was just before the last album came out, and it was in preparation of the world tour, obviously, which didn't happen at the time because of COVID. I think it's underway now, or I think they were doing the Asian leg of the tour. I think I saw some stuff about that a while back. Cognitive Burp, hi, welcome, thank you for joining us. Any suggestions for a good preamp pedal? Oh, well, where would you like to start, sir? Yeah, I can recommend loads. And there's so many out there, so it will kind of be defined by what your budget is. I mean, literally every amplification company and pedal company now do a preamp pedal. My preference is for the Aguilar tone hammer pedal, which I've got on my pedal board, and I've been using extensively for the past 3 months. So since we've come out of lockdown here in the UK, I've been doing about 3, 4, 5 shows a week. And one of the bands I play in, so for 25, 26 years, I've always had amplification behind me. This is the first time I've done without amplification. So I'm running off a pedal board with the tone hammer pedal on there. That's going out of the main system. And then for monitoring, I'm using in-ears with an iPad with the Air app, or I think it's MX32 or MQ32, and I basically, for this band, which is a disco funk band, 9-piece band, we have the whole setup there for each of our in-ears, so you can mix it how you want. The sound has been fabulous, but that DI pedal gives such a great signal out to the main desk, and the fact also that it's got the distortion element on there, or the drive element of the tone hammer amp, but the EQ on it's so flexible and it just sounds great. So I've been getting really good use out of that. I also really love the EBS micro bass, both the 2 and the 3. The 3 obviously is the upgrade from the 2, but that doesn't make the 2 redundant. There's lots of features on it that I like, and actually the simplicity of it I kind of prefer against the micro bass 3. But again, it's preference, and the micro bass 2 is now cheaper to pick up secondhand compared to the 3 because it's the newer pedal. MXR do a great preamp pedal. Boss do a great one. Ashdown do various preamps now that don't necessarily have to be pedals. They've got this unit called the Ant, and I know a few players who are using that and getting good service out of that. So really, it's a case of whatever your budget is and what do you need that preamp pedal to do. Do you need fully sort of EQ and loads of other features like headphone outs and auxiliary ins, and do you need 1 channel, 2 channels? Do you want a 3-band EQ? Do you want a parametric? Kind of got to look at what you need, look at what your budget is, go and have a listen. And obviously you can look on channels like mine and other channels out there to get a good idea of how these things sound, but you really can't beat going and trying these things in a shop and just hearing what they sound like through. If you're going to go through amplification, then you need to see how that preamp pedal is going to sound going through your amp and cabinet setup. If you're using it to run into a system, then again the sound's going to be different because there's going to be no amp or speaker affecting this. So it's kind of, I would say, look at what your requirements are, look at what your budget is, and then find the pedals or the units that fit in that budget, and then take it from there. And I mean, I have known some players who've gone through like almost every preamp pedal out there, and they never seem to be happy. And I think sometimes maybe they don't know what sound they're looking for. They might think the preamp might solve all their tonal issues, but I mean, there's so many factors. If you start with your fingers, then there's the strings, the pickups, the circuitry, and the bass. Is that if you've got an active bass, is that going to override the tone that you're going to be getting out of the pedal before it even hits an amp? So obviously, I don't know what your signal chain is, but all of those sort of factors, you've got to take those into consideration. But there's nothing to say you can't just keep trying all these different things until you find the one that suits you. But for simplicity, ease of use, quality of sound, I really do like that Aguilar Tone Hammer pedal. Seems to work great. So I'm going back to the questions here. GPAC, you've seen that video. Cool, lovely. Hope you enjoyed that. The Guy Pratt Tune Bonnie, which was on a CD free with a guitar magazine, which would have been bassist. And I think you're either referring to the bassist CD, which I've got a copy of in my rack somewhere here. So you're either referring to that, which you are, because it's the first track on the CD. I thought it might be the Trace Elliott, also available in green CD, but it's not, it's this. So that came with Bassist magazine, I think in 1997. Yeah, here we go. 5th of the 4th. So 5th of April, April 97. That's the track you're referring to, which was amazing. Do you know what? I haven't listened to this in about, it's got to be since it came out. So what are we talking, 24 years? I'll have a listen to that later on. Thank you for the heads up, sir. It's a melodic bass fest. Well, that's what Guy's kind of known for. And certainly around that time, he was doing lots of stuff like that. Yeah, no budget. So you got no budget for a preamp pedal. Well, I guess shop second hand and keep your eye out for some bargains would be my suggestion. That could be a live chat of its own. What, the preamp pedal? Well, I will happily do that. I'd need to get a few more here so that we could talk about them properly. But I mean, I've got the Aguilar here. I've got the two EBS ones here. Then I've got an Avalon U5, which I use, but I mean, that's not a preamp pedal, but it's a preamp DI. So yeah. But I think if you've got no budget, then you really need to kind of look at some YouTube stuff and see what models you're going to be looking at. So maybe Mua might do one that would be at the cheaper end of things. Not that Mua pedals are cheap, they're not, but they're in terms of how they manufacture, but the price range is pretty competitive. What pedals do you use on a funk gig? Okay, trying to think what's on my pedal board. So I go from the bass into a Boss TU2 tuner. That then goes to one of these beauties, which is a Digitech drop pedal. So I've actually bought another one of these because the one on my pedal board, because I don't use the pedal board on every gig that I do, I was taking the pedal on and off all the time. So I've bought another one. So this is the standalone one when I'm not using my pedal board. So for anyone who's not seen these, I talked about this before in a previous video, and there's going to be a review video up very, very shortly, probably by next week. So the drop pedal takes the technology that was in the Digitech whammy pedal, and they've upgraded it a bit. And it's great for guitar, bass, keys. And using that control dial, you'll see there's a series of LEDs, and basically each one represents a semitone drop. So if you're playing a song and it's one semitone down, but you don't want to change all your fingering or transpose on the neck, you can just activate that pedal, and as long as the number one LED, that will drop it a semitone. If you need to go down a tone, then it's the second LED, and as it goes on until it reaches a full octave. And then if you don't need the drop tuning feature, the very last LED is for an octave effect, which is great, and I've used that quite a lot actually. And there's another feature here. You'll see there's a dip switch, not dip switch, there's just like a metal switch there that allows you to put it on I can't remember what it's called. It's a latching mode. So basically, rather than turning the effect on and off with the pedal button, you can just keep your foot on it. So if you needed a detune for, say, a middle eight or a chorus, but not during the rest of the song, you just step on the pedal and keep your foot on it until you need to go back to regular tuning, and then take your foot off. But that's great. They're great, and there will be a review of that very shortly on the channel. So yes, I go tuner into drop pedal, then I go into an EBS Octobase pedal, Black Label one. Then it goes into the Electro Harmonics Knockout Attack Equalizer, of which there's a review on the channel. Then I'd go into the MXR Bass Fuzz Deluxe, then into an EBS Dephaser. Then I go into the Aguilar Filter Twin, which is the envelope filter. Then into an EBS Black Label Chorus. And then I go into, that then goes into the Aguilar Tone Hammer. I've got a whole bunch of other kind of pedals that I can put in, but for the gig I'm doing, those pedals seem to cover everything. But I've got other envelope filters here. I've got a couple of the EBS wire pedals. I'm trying to see what else is in my box over there. Some other chorus effects. So I was going to have a day to actually, now that I've done this gig for about, I think we've done about 25 shows with that band, I'm going to try some of the other pedals and see if I can get some better sounds or some different sounds to what I've had. But that tends to have covered most of what I've needed. I haven't needed any distortions, but the fuzz is a nice effect for sort of Larry Graham impressions and certain elements of songs where you might want sort of that sort of late 60s, early 70s fuzz tone on a bass. It sounds great, really effective if you just sort of drop it in and drop it out. I use it on like that riff part of Play That Funky Music. I just kick that fuzz effect in and it works really well. Can that go down to a low B? We're talking about the drop pedal. I think it might struggle. But my experience of this pedal is it sounds great on bass up to 4 semitones down, then the tracking really starts to kick in. And actually the latency in tracking is pretty good for bass up to about 4 semitones down. So you're looking at 2 whole tones. You could try it. I don't think a low B, playing a B, is going to sound that hot because the latency will start making it sound a bit odd. And actually what I found is once you go past 3 or 4 semitones on here, it starts really biting into your top end. So if you're doing slapping or you kind of need some top end bite, you're going to lose it a bit. No matter whether it's an active bass or a passive bass. But again, it's about experimentation. It might be the tone you're looking for. But I just wish this pedal had been out 20 years ago because it would have saved me a whole load of grief. Sort of depping in bands who play songs in different tunings. I wouldn't have had to keep learning different ways of playing songs. And I know you can transpose, but when you've learnt a song in D and someone decides they want to play it in G sharp, it's not the easiest thing. So this could have saved a whole load of grief. But I really do recommend these pedals. I've been getting a lot of mileage out of mine since we came back. So. But again, if you want it to go down to a low beat, try it. See how your bass and your amplification responds to it. You might find it tracks okay. And actually, some of the videos on YouTube where guitarists were trying it, I found, because obviously bass is a lot lower, guitar is higher frequency, the tracking was a lot better. But yeah, so give it a go, I would suggest. So let's see who else we've got on here at the moment. Any other questions, ladies and gents? If there's anything you'd like to ask about the channel or anything coming up or any of the videos that are already on here, let me know. And yeah. So like I said earlier, there will be a new video going up later this evening, which is a Yamaha BBP 34. It'll be a soundbite video. And there'll be another video up on Thursday. And now we're going to get back into a groove of Monday and Thursday videos. So it used to be Tuesday and Friday. but the YouTube analytics are showing me that Monday and Thursday might be better, and also Monday and Thursday don't clash so much with gigs. So there's nothing worse than putting a video up and you're not here to do the social media promotion because you're on the road driving. So we'll try and get into a regular routine. So do I like the Sire Marcus Miller basses? I've played a couple. They tend to follow the general premise of a lot of the sort of, I don't want to say budget because it makes them sound like they're cheap, and the Sire Marcus Miller basses aren't generally. But what happens is when you get below a certain price point, individual instruments stand out. But that doesn't mean that if you had 10 examples of that instrument that they're all going to play great. And a lot of people I know who've bought Sires have ended up replacing pickups and hardware and machine heads and what have you. Marcus swears by them, and I've seen him do quite a few gigs and clinics with them. So there's obviously a market, and sales seem to be very good. And I know quite a few professionals who are either using them as their main bass or as their backup bass. I mean, I've got a Marcus Miller Fender here, which is a mid-90s Japanese one, which has been updated with a John East Marcus retro circuit in there. So it's got all of those. So for me, I personally wouldn't go and buy a Sire because I've got one of these. And from my own playing experience, I really love the bass center Guy Pratt signature. And I think that's probably a better bass for the money. But I haven't had enough sort of playing time with the Sires to say definitively, yes, the bass center one is a much better bass. Or if it's not, I just don't know. Without the two basses side by side, it's hard to compare. But I've played a few at trade shows and occasionally in stores, and they hold up really well. You know, they do what a cheaper end jazz bass should do, and what they're doing for the money is quite incredible. You bought two and you love them. Excellent. If they do what you need to do to get the job done, then it's money well spent. As long as the hardware isn't going to cause a problem and the electronics are okay. I know a couple of people who've bought Sires, and when they've received them, there's been problems. So maybe there's some quality control issues there. I don't know. But you could say that about any brand and any company. So, yeah, you know, if buy the basses that make you happy and can do the job you need them to do. Yeah, cool. If you're happy with them, then that's great. You know, there's so much gear out there that it can be a bit daunting. Certainly if you're starting out, it's like, well, what do I go for? And I occasionally get asked by people who are starting out, and we obviously during lockdown, there's been a lot of people who've decided to take up an instrument, and a lot of bass players have sort of messaged me and said, you know, what would you suggest? But it's always got to start with what's your budget, and what do you want to achieve? What you know, to what level do you want to play? If you're going to just stay at home and play, you probably don't need like a £5,000 bass guitar. But if you want one and you're going to play at home, then that's entirely up to you. So cool. Let's see what else we've got going on here. While we're doing all this, I will apologize to you guys out there for the nonsense that was put up on the live chat earlier. We've obviously got a couple of people who've got nothing to do and they've got time on their hands. So if anyone was offended by that, I apologize. And if you're watching this at a later date, I will try and go back through the live chat and remove those messages. But yeah, if you were offended, I apologize for that. Let me think, what else do I need to let you know? There's going to be some workshop videos coming up where I set some basses up and I go through how to set a bass up from scratch. So if you've got any interest in that, or particular basses you would like to see set up, I know there are a few people out there who like Kabiki basses and like alembic basses, but when it comes to setting one up, they can be a bit daunting. So I will attempt to do a couple of those setup videos soon. The problem with the alembic is there's so many different elements. I've got two here on the wall. There's so many elements that need adjusting when setting up an alembic. You can get it fabulous, but you need to do each section piece by piece. So if you're an alembic fan and you've got one and you might have a few setup issues, I will try and get a video up of that shortly. And I think that's about it, actually. If you guys got any questions, by all means put them in the live chat box. Comment on this video, send a message via the channel, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And anything you want to know, if it's regarding the channel or bass playing generally, or my work with Bass Guitar Magazine and Bass Player Magazine, or anything to do with gig advice, you know, playing gigs, getting gigs, playing in a band, I'm more than happy to pass on my knowledge and experience if it's of use to you. A review of good gig bags would be nice if you've not already done one. I haven't done one, and I was planning on doing one. I think it was early